Alright, hello guys, and welcome back to another video. And today, I thought since it's New Year's Eve, I decided why not do a collection video going around the room and showing off the clocks and giving off a little bit of information. Especially since not all of my clocks have had in-depth videos, especially some of the newer ones. I'm looking at that one and that one. Haven't really had in-depth videos yet. Neither has that one, but that one probably won't until it gets sorted. But anyway, without further ado, I guess we'll get started on the quite the journey going around my room. This is definitely going to be my longest video to date. I already know it will be. Anyway, I guess starting from this end of the room and going clockwise, we'll start off with these two. First off is the Korean copy of a American regulator. This clock runs for 31 days. It's a time-only movement with a passing strike kind of thing. It strikes on the hour and half hour once on a little tiny bell. If I can, I'm going to actually open this off camera because it's very hard to do on camera. Alright, there we go. That's better. So now I guess I can give a demonstration as to what this sounds like. There you go. It's got these nice Roman numerals and these little nice floral details on it. Quite like it. And of course, of Korean style, you've also got the big, massive open mainspring. And you also have a silica gel pouch, which you might, yeah, there you go. And this clock also has its original key, which is very nice. This clock has pretty much got everything original that it came with from the factory that it was made in. This clock I bought on Facebook Marketplace for £15, if I remember correctly. And from what I can tell, this clock was made in January 1984, so this clock is going to be 41 years old in January. So yeah, I think it looks very nice overall. It's not an overly, like a overly showy off clock. I guess that didn't make really much sense, but oh well. Didn't make much sense, but oh well. But yeah, it's subtle, but I guess kind of nice. It does have a very loud tick like most Korean clocks, so it does get annoying after a while, especially if it's in your bedroom. So yeah, that's one thing about Korean clocks, is they are especially annoying when they're ticking because they are unbelievably loud. Anyway, and next up is another Korean clock, this time much bigger than its neighbour. And this clock is in the style of a German sort of Vienna regulator style wall clock, sorry. Kind of like that one that's under my desk right now. Yeah, it's pretty much a copy of that style. This has the same sort of ticking problem as this one. Sounds very loud, very sort of like a click click kind of noise. Does get annoying after a while. I'm pretty sure this is its original key. I'm not 100% sure, but it does sort of look like a key that would go with this kind of clock. I have no idea who made it. Same as this clock, I have no idea who made either of these. This clock is older than this one, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this one was made in the 70s. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was made in the 1970s. Has a coil gong as a strike rather than a bell. Sounds like that, very loud. And unlike this clock, it strikes the hours. So obviously, for example, it would strike 9 o'clock, but similarly to this clock, it does have a passing strike, but just on the half hour. So yeah, this clock I bought at a local vintage / antique shop. Let me close that. For £50, which Jonas isn't actually too bad of a deal, considering it's in really good condition, it works, it's nice, and I'm quite fond of it overall. Also, another thing about this clock is it's got a removable top piece. Don't know what you'd call this. I usually call it a crown because it sits on top of a clock. Again, I'm not great with my terminology. I've said that in many videos, but I just like to put that out there again. Some people call it a swag. I've heard some people call it a swag. I'm not too sure what you call it. I just call it either a crown or a top piece. I'm pretty sure the crown one is wrong, but oh well. I'll just call it that because it kind of makes sense. Also, the pendulum on this clock is called a gridiron style pendulum, whereas you've got the I think I can't remember. I know that they're brass, those bits, and then you've got the other bits which I forget what they're made out of. Pretty sure they're I can't actually remember what metals the other ones are made out of. But these poles, these ones, are brass, and then these ones are, I think, steel, maybe iron, I don't know. Not too sure on that. Someone will have to Google check that for me. I think it's steel. I could be probably wrong. But oh well. And then down here we have this clock, which is a genuine German Vienna regulator style clock. Much bigger than that one as well. And yeah, I can't give a whole lot of information about it because I don't know much about it. All I do know is it was made in sort of in between like the 1880s and early 1900s. That's my guess. It does have a very quiet coil gong, which I have demonstrated in a few videos, but I'll demonstrate it again. Also, yeah, it is a count wheel clock. Actually, I should have probably pointed that out on this clock. That one's a rack and snail striking clock. This one is a count wheel. And also this clock also has that same gridiron pendulum with brass and the other metal that I can't remember the name of, because I can't remember which metal it is. But yeah, overall it's a very nice clock. I don't know who made it. My guess is it could be possibly maybe a Young'uns or maybe a HAC. I have no idea who made this clock, but it's definitely one of those brands. That's what I know. But anyway, enough about that. Overall it's a very nice clock. The case is in pretty good condition, although the left side glass is sort of falling out. So that will need refitting properly. Yeah, overall it's a very nice clock, and yeah, it's definitely much better to have in a bedroom because the tick is much quieter and so is the strike. And moving on to this one, this is a 1930s HAC Napoleon's hat clock, or as Americans will call it, a timbre clock. This is a Westminster only clock, has no other chimes, it just does Westminster. Very nice Westminster as well. It's got a very sort of basic, sort of early 30s look to it. not much to say about it, but it does have this nice sort of design on the bottom that I really like. I'll show off the tuning for the rods. Also, this clock has the chime block mounted behind the movement rather than in an underslung capacity. Don't know why, I just thought I'd point that out. But yeah, here are the rods. Yeah, you get 5 rods. Yeah, 4 for the Westminster chime, and then you get the 1 extra for part of the strike, which is a multi-note strike on this clock. So yeah, very nice case as well. Has got a bit of dust on it though, so I'll do a bit of dusting when I've finished with the video. But yeah, overall, very nice clock, very simple, and yeah, very nice. So yeah, moving on from that, we have this, which is the Ergos, it's an odd Ergos, because unlike most Ergoses I've seen, this clock has the chime block mounted in an underslung capacity under the movement, which I've never seen on an Ergos clock. I've only ever seen Ergoses with the chime blocks mounted behind the movement, kind of like what I demonstrated with that clock, where chime block is here and then obviously the movement is in front of it. But on this clock, the movement's here and then chime block is underneath, so it's quite odd. And what's even odder is this clock uses the older style of Ergos movement, where the hammers move like 1 by 1 and not sort of in a sort of more flowy motion where they all move like that. They all do like 1 at a time, like that. Which definitely does make it more jolty sometimes, especially if you... because the selector on this clock is very fidgety. So sometimes if you put it in the Westminster setting and you don't set it properly, sometimes when it chimes it will actually miss notes, which is quite odd. So you have to be absolutely precise with the placement of the selector switch, or eyes. Yeah, it will sort of miss notes, which isn't great, but oh well. And yeah, overall it's a very nice clock. Oh yeah, and also one more thing about this clock is, rather than having the German style of Whittington, it just has the normal style of Whittington. So it's kind of a mishmash of sort of new style Ergos and old style Ergos, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, overall very nice. Has a very deep sounding chime for a Mantle clock as well. I like it. And also the case on it is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, enough of talking about that clock, because otherwise I'll be here all night. Next up we have this, which is a 1960s Kienzl rope clock. This is a battery operated clock, although it's not battery in the usual sense, where it's a quartz clock. Oh no. This is, actually you would have just heard it. That click that you might have heard is it's rewinding itself. Because this uses a battery to self-rewind a spring every 3 minutes or so. Which overall it's very nice. I don't know, it's just got that sort of mid-century style about it that I really like. Especially the fact that it has all the zodiac signs and the basic just sort of number counters that are like this, rather than having actual numbers like that. And also the hands are very 60s. It's just a very 60s clock, and I like it. Yeah. That's just this is just a digital thing. don't know much about it. And I guess we'll move on to this one over here. This is a Youngens Napoleon hat clock, or again Tambour clock as the Americans would call it. This clock has its original label here, which is very nice. I don't really know when this clock would have been made. On here it does say 1900 and 1911, but I think that's just for like expos. I'm not sure. I think my guess is that this clock is 1920s. That's my guess. Not really a lot to go on with this clock. I bought it off Facebook Marketplace for £20. No, it was £35, sorry. And it comes with this key. I don't know if this is the original key, but it does fit the clock. It works quite well, and yeah. Unfortunately though, this clock isn't currently going because it just needs oiling very badly. It's just, it looks very dry, and also the mainspring doesn't look in the healthiest of conditions, so yeah. I'm hoping to get this clock sorted in the new year, but maybe not for a while, so unfortunately it's going to sit there for a while, which is a bit unfortunate. It does strike on a very nice gong, though, which I'll demonstrate in another video. Yeah, that's the wheel clock. Not much to say about it. Oh, actually, and also, before I go on, I did forget to mention where I bought these clocks. So this one, well actually all three of these, I bought at vintage and my local vintage and antique stores. So these two were bought at the same one. This one was actually a Christmas present from last year. So was this one, I forgot to mention that. This one I bought back in May. Yeah, May of this year for £40, which is actually pretty good. This one I bought last year for £20. So yeah, very nice. Anyway, I guess I will go around here and talk about this clock. This clock has been in the collection for a while. It's actually, yeah, this clock was one of the first I actually made. I think this was actually the first. No, it wasn't. No, it was one of the first clocks I made an in-depth video about, but not the first. We'll get into the one I made the first in-depth video about in a bit. But this clock has been off the wall for quite a while because of it needed its side glass refitting and a piece of wood gluing back on. And as you'll note, both of those things have now been fixed. I do apologise about my squeaky bed. Yeah, and now it's fixed. It works very well. It runs for 14 days, and this clock I bought at the same antique store as the HAC. This one I bought for £75, and yeah, there's not a lot to say about it. It's a 1930s. I originally thought it might have been 1920s or 1930s, but I can confirm this is, oh, pardon me, 1930s box clock. It's due to this glass style, because 1920s box clocks tend to have those wooden glass dividers rather than these metal ones. So yeah. But yeah, this clock runs for 14 days. It was made by FMS Mantle, I think. Yeah, I've had a couple of people tell me this is a Mantle, so I'm gonna go off that. So yeah, again, it's got a very nice sounding gong. yeah, not much else to say. Runs well, it's nice, and it keeps pretty good time overall. So yeah, moving on to this lot. This is where we start getting some of the interesting stuff. Even though all the other clocks have also been quite interesting. But anyway, first we have the W.L. Gilbert Mantle clock from 1922. This clock I bought at the... In fact, actually, yeah, all three of these clocks, if you exclude the Metamec and the Bayard, I forgot how did I forget what it's called? Anyway, if you exclude those two, that clock, so the Gilbert, the French clock, and the quarter striking clock were all bought at the same antique store as the Ergos over there. So yeah. So anyway, the W.L. Gilbert, this was made in 1922. In fact, this is pretty much the exact same movement as the one that Tommy Wiley has. You know, the difference is my one also has the external regulator key thing. And his one doesn't. My one also isn't in a Napoleon hat shaped case. My one's in more of this sort of semicircle shaped case. It's quite nice. Does need a little bit of touching up. For example, the hands, they need repainting. I will get around to that at some point because I hate seeing that these brown specks on them. It annoys me. It annoys me profusely. Yeah, it's a very nice clock. Runs very well. It's got a nice coil gong. It runs for 8 days, yeah. And yeah, not a lot else I can really say about it. So yeah, it's also got this really nice beading on it, which I quite like. Anyway, I need to start hurrying up because this video is 22 minutes long. So yeah. So next up, I'll actually go to the French clock next. So this is the French clock. I bought this for £140. I bought the Gilbert for £30. Sorry for not remembering that. But yeah, this clock I bought for £140. I'm not too sure who made it. Again, I'm not the greatest on French clock manufacturers. I know the basic ones like FFR, Girard, that sort of thing, but not some of the older ones who made clocks in this sort of style. So yeah, but anyway, this clock has some very nice details on it. I mean, it's got some absolutely beautiful details on it, like for example these pillars here, this inlaid wood, and this dial as well, which is another nice addition. The bezel is quite annoying to open on this clock. Strikes on a bell. It's got a count wheel striking movement. Sounds like that. And yeah, not much else to say about this clock. So yeah. Next up, we'll do the quarter striking clock. Now this clock has had an entire saga of videos, I guess you could say, of me having pain and suffering trying to sort out the striking on this clock. And unfortunately it still hasn't been sorted yet, but hopefully it will get sorted in the new year. In the meantime, sorry, it will just stand here looking like a gravestone. Yeah, this is I'm assuming this was made by Philip Haas and Son, yeah. So is that's weird, my phone was glitching out then. Anyway, yeah, so this clock I bought this for £140 as well. Has a quarter striking where obviously at quarter past it will do a sort of, it does it does like a bim bam bomb kind of sequence where it goes bim bam bomb, and it does obviously 2 of those at the half hour, 3 of those at the quarter to, and then at the hour it just does a single dong for how many hours is. So it would do it, for example, 6 times at 6 o'clock, so on and so forth. However, for some reason this clock does not like to strike 2 o'clock for some reason. So yeah, because at 2 o'clock it will just strike 1 o'clock, and then at 3 o'clock it will strike 3 o'clock. So I have no idea why it just decides it just does not want to strike 2 o'clock, which is a bit odd, but oh well. Yeah, apart from that, it's got a very nice case, some really nice inlaid wood, and overall just a very nice clock. Unfortunately, it doesn't work the best right now, but I will get it sorted. Anyway, moving on to the next clock, we have the Bayard alarm clock. Now I have no idea how long this runs for. My guess is it runs for 2 days, maybe 3. I have no idea. Again, I've not run this clock fully. Yeah, it has its own little like travel box, which is quite nice. Quite like that. Made out of leather. It said this is a 1930s clock. I just say 1930s because it is very Art Deco. And I'm pretty sure it is definitely pre-war styling. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, also it's got a square dial, unlike most other clocks which have a round dial. So that was another thing that sort of attracted me to this clock, was being a bit odd. But yeah, overall a very nice clock. Well, alarm clock. Yeah, not much else to say about it. Next up we have the Metamec. This is a 1960s, I believe. Time only Metamec with this Bakelite casing on the back. Yeah, it's Bakelite. This was actually the first clock I received for my birthday this year. So yeah, it's a very nice clock. I currently don't have it running just because I can't bother to wind it up every day. But yeah, and that's just a quartz thing. And also, actually, yeah, getting back to the Bayard that was bought at the same antique store as the box clock and the HAC, and the Metamec was also bought at the same antique store as the Bayard as well. So yeah, and then I have no idea where I got that. I just got it. There's not much to say about that. It's just a 1980s quartz thing. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for is for me to go over the big French FFR on Waves of Blue and Westminster chimes. Unfortunately, it currently doesn't run because it's in dire need of cleaning very badly. I mean, we're talking like it is grimy. I've had a look at the movement. It is dirty. So yeah, unfortunately it's out of commission right now. But hopefully I can get it back in and working again before February, hopefully. Although I'm not making any promises on that, but hopefully I do get it running again at some point. This clock I think is probably one of the best deals I've ever found, because this Sorry, my mind went blank then. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, this clock is probably one of my best deals. It was 35 pounds on Facebook Marketplace. And the only reason for that was because of these missing pieces of veneer. And yeah, it's very sort of 1930s looking sort of art deco. I'm not sure if it was made in the 1930s. It was either made in the 30s or the 50s. Yeah, I'm not too sure, but it was made by FFR, and it does have on Waves of Blue and Westminster. Yeah, not much else to say about it. One of my finest finds, I have to say, especially considering I found it on Facebook Marketplace, and usually the clocks you find on there aren't the best. Sometimes you can find good deals, but most of the time Facebook Marketplace is a bit iffy. And then we come down here to the unit of things. That's the very important clock. I don't absolutely know who made it. So I think it might have been Haller. It could have been HAC. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's got the same setup as the HAC Mantle clock, where it's got the chime rods behind the movement rather than underneath. And yeah, very nice clock. Not much else to say about it. If you want the full story about this clock, then I've made a full massive video about it. So yeah, so I'm starting to hurry up, but this video is now 32 minutes long. So yeah, next up we have the Committee of London clock, which I bought in the same antique store as those three: the court striking clock, the French clock, and Gilbert. I bought this for £70. And it did run fine for a few months until about May, June time-ish, I think. No, it might have been April. And then it just packed up. And I have no idea why. I think because it's a thermal movement, I think honestly it just had its day, really. So I've decided I'm probably just going to get a new movement for it. So yeah, that clock you won't be seeing running for a while. However, the one underneath it, that still works somehow, even though it's a thermal from 1978. And it is in dire need of God knows how many parts. But it still works. It hasn't given up. But yeah, again, I would give the full info on these clocks, but I'm starting to hurry up. And also, again, you know how I came across that clock. Yeah, right. Also, we have the Enfield in there. That was another clock that was given to me. It's about 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2 years ago. And in there somewhere we've got the Japanese Seiko alarm clock, which hasn't been seen by anyone for months because it's just been sitting there waiting for repairs. And then we get to this, the shelf, the new shelves that I had put up today, quite literally today. But yeah, I will give a full explanation on two of these clocks, this one and this one, because the in-depth videos haven't been made for these ones. So, yeah, first of all, we have this one, which is a Paraveil clock. It's got a very nice Westminster chime. It only uses 4 rods rather than 5 like some other clocks. Yeah, this only has 4, so it strikes. So the strike on this is only 2 notes. It's very nice, and it sounds very. It's got a very sort of nice sounding chime. Got a very high pitched chime. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, this is a 1930s. Yeah, 1930s Paravel with these style hands. I don't know why, but for some reason, yeah, this clock has sort of German style hands. But it's made in. It says it's made in England because it was made by Paravel. So not too sure about that, but oh well. It's got a very nice case. Odd shape as well. I quite like it. But moving on, we have the Schatz. This is a Schatz. It's not a early Enfield, and like I originally thought. No, this is a Schatz Mantle clock. The reason why I say it's a Schatz is because there is one difference that you can tell between Schatz clocks and early Enfield clocks, and that is early Enfield clocks, when they were still owned by Schatz, were marked with made in England, and this one doesn't have that anywhere to be seen, so that's what's led me to believe that this is a Schatz clock. Also, it does look a bit more German, as you can compare it to the other 2 clocks which are beside it, both of which are British. It does look a bit more German in comparison. Especially the Roman numerals do kind of give it away. But again, it's also got a very nice coil gong, very nice case, and overall just it's a very nice clock. I bought that for £15 at like a local flea market thing. And that clock was £40. Yeah, 40. And moving on to this clock, this is a late 50s, early 60s. No, this is a 1960s Smith's clock. It uses a balance wheel movement. Has Westminster chimes. Again, very nice Westminster chimes. And quite a small case. So all of the clocks on this shelf are very small cases. All quite small in comparison to quite a few other Mantle clocks that I have. But again, very nice. Also, another bonus about this clock is that it has this Smith's key. Now, this didn't originally come with this clock. However, since I did have the Smith's key laying around from another Smith's clock, I thought may as well nick it, and now it's used on this clock, because the other Smith's clock, the one that this key originally belonged to, is down there, and it is knackered. That's why I'm not featuring it in this video, because it's just knackered, really. But anyway, back to this one. It's got some very nice simple details, like this little brass strip here along the bottom. Yeah, overall just a very nice clock. Unlike most balance wheel clocks, it's also a very good timekeeper, unlike the Bentima with the Hermal movement. This clock is an exceptionally good timekeeper for what it is. Only loses about maybe 3 minutes a week, if not less. It's quite a nice clock, and I really like it. I'm going to turn off this lamp so you don't get that blooming sort of blinded by the light. But yeah, again, very nice. I like it. Yeah, I'll move on now. Next up, we're just going to go very quickly over these. That is a 1960s EMES alarm clock, very small and very nice. That is a Equity alarm clock made in Hong Kong. I managed to get that working again, which is quite astonishing. So yeah, I don't know how, but one day it just started ticking and it didn't stop until now, because obviously it wound itself down. But yeah, that there is a Smith's Empire pocket watch. Not much to go on really with that. It's got a replacement glass because I'm pretty sure the original one, I'm assuming the original glass broke, which is why it's got that sort of yellowish plastic fake glass on it. I'm hoping to get the proper original glass for it at some point, but yeah, for now it just have to stay like that. And then over here we have a Victorian pocket watch. I have no idea who made it, nor where it was made. So yeah, not really a lot to go on. And then another pocket watch, which is in here. This is a much more modern pocket watch than these two, but just as nice. This was actually a Christmas present from my uncle. So yeah, that's very nice. And it's not currently going right now, but as you can see, it is a mechanical one. It's not a battery one. And you can even have a look at the movement through the back, which is another very nice feature I like about this. There we go, right, it's closed. Now here's me trying to put it back in the box. Okay, right, hold on. There we go. I've managed to get it back in the box one-handed. Very nice. So yeah, that's that shelf now completed, finally. Next up we have this Smith alarm clock, which this was the first clock I made an in-depth video about on the channel. A very long time ago, almost 2 years ago now. It's quite astonishing really, I've been on YouTube for 2 years now. And it feels like yesterday I made that first very cringy video, which I really don't want anyone to watch. But yeah, not much to say about it, it's just an alarm clock. It's quite difficult to move the hands just because it's not really been oiled. I might put a little bit of oil on it just to sort of ease up everything at some point, but not right now. That is a 1910s German Mantle clock made by Kienzl, which is currently in need of a servicing. I've been meaning to get around to that, but I probably will not for in the near future, but it will be running again at some point. Oh yeah, that clock I bought for 50 quid at the same place as those 3 clocks again. So yeah, also actually I forgot to mention all of these things. Yeah, this Smith's, that was £45. The EMES I cannot remember because I also purchased that about 2 years ago. Equity, I don't know, that was a birthday present, the same as those pocket watches, and this pocket watch was a Christmas present. So yeah, now we're up to speed on all those details. And also that Smith's, I don't remember the price for that either, because again, it was 2 years ago. Don't remember anything from 2 years ago, especially not that kind of detail. But yeah, this Smith was, in fact, this is the only purchase I've ever made from eBay. It's quite a good one actually. This is I'm assuming it's a late 40s, early 50s Smith, since it still uses a pendulum movement, but it's got the Smith's name on it rather than Smith. So yeah, that's my assumption, is it's late 40s, early 50s. It's got this very nice casework on it. It's got a very nice Westminster chime. Again, it uses 4 rods, 4 rods are actually quite common on English chiming clocks. If you get a Westminster only clock, they tend to only have 4 rods. Don't know why, they just do. Yeah, and I do apologise for all the stuff that is in front of it. But yeah, it's a very nice clock. Unfortunately, it doesn't have its original key, and for some reason, the Smith's key, which I have for this clock, doesn't really want to work for it for some reason. So I just have this very skinny key, which somehow works. I'll show you the key at some point. But anyway, moving on. We have this, which is another Kienzl. This is a Kienzl dual chime clock. Again, like the Ergos, it has the chime, the chime block. There we go. I forgot the blooming word. It has the chime block in an underslung capacity. It's got a very nice Whittington and Westminster chime. And the case, I have plans for sort of reviving the case a little bit and sort of not making it in this sort of dire condition again. But that will have to wait for a time being. I bought that off Facebook Marketplace for 35. Yeah, 35. Oh, and that the Smith's clock was 40 as well. Then we got this digital thing. That's just my alarm clock these days, and that's just a little novelty flip clock thing. It just sits there for a little bit of decoration, I suppose. That is a German wall clock in a Vienna regulator style from like the 1880s to 1910s. Not a lot to say about it. I have no idea who made it. And it has a terrible sounding gong. There's quite a bit wrong with it. This clock is also one of the only clocks that has tried to kill me by falling off the wall. So yeah, that was fun. So yeah, we'll move on to the next clock, which is this clock. This clock has also tried to kill me, but not in the usual, well, I don't know. It's not tried to kill me in essence, it's more just tried to break my hand because it broke its spring on me. The first time I ever wound it after buying it, which was the same day, I wound it up and it broke its spring, which wasn't very fun. Luckily, it was only an 8-day clock, so it wasn't that bad. It could have been worse, especially if it was a 31-day clock like the Korean clock, which broke its spring, and my phone has decided it doesn't want to use the torch anymore, so unfortunately I'm going to have to turn the lamp back on. But yeah, this is a American drop dial clock. I have no idea who made it. I think it might have been Gilbert maybe Seth Thomas, I don't know. I'm really clueless. I need to take the dial off and just have a look at the movement. It does have this very nice door though. I like it how it opens upwards like this. I also like the pendulum bob as well. That's a very nice tick, although again very loud. Yeah, this was £150. Yeah, £150 from the same antique shop as those three. I get quite a lot of my clocks from that antique shop. It is usually my go-to place if I want a new clock. And usually if those antique shops I go to don't have any clocks, then I usually just go either on Facebook Marketplace or sometimes eBay. Usually Facebook Marketplace though. So yeah, overall very nice clock. Again, I have no idea for the year range, and I'm really starting to want to end this video soon because it's 50 minutes long. I don't know how I've made 50 minutes of this, considering blooming hell, this, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. This is probably the centre of my collection. This is the Gents master clock. I believe it was made in 1951. That's my guess. It's fully working. It does have... I do have the ability to attach a slave clock to it at any point. However, I don't have a slave clock right now, so it's just going to sit there as a standalone clock. Like most master clocks as well, this clock sends an impulse every 30 seconds rather than most other master clocks. Like, for example, ones made by T&N, which send an impulse every minute. This one sends an impulse every 30 seconds. And it makes an almighty clunk whenever it does it, so yeah. And this clock weighs about 3 stone, which is about 20 something kilograms. So it's quite heavy. I'm surprised this is keeping it up, but I don't know. But yeah, it's plugged into there and into there. And yeah, don't question why it's got slightly exposed wires there. It's much safer than you think. Don't worry. And most of the time I keep this thing off anyway, because again, the almighty clunk that happens whenever it sends an impulse is quite annoying, especially to the neighbours, because they can blooming hear this through our walls. So yeah, this has to stay off, unfortunately. But oh well. Next, we have this clock, which is the FMS Mantle Westminster chiming clock, which I thought was a Gustav Becker. Yeah, I know I've faith-palmed myself many times for that mistake, but oh well. I guess we all make mistakes. This clock, unlike most of my other chiming clocks, has a singular note strike, rather than most of my other chiming clocks, which have multi-note strikes, excluding this Kienzl, which also has a singular note strike. Yeah, not much to say about it. It's a 1920s mounter box clock. This was made before 1926. That's all I know. So it's an early 1920s example. Yeah, very nice clock. Works very well. You can't really see into it right now because my torch decided to die on my phone. So yeah, this clock I also bought for 150 at the same antique place. You already know which antique place by now, because yeah. Also, actually, and this, the Gents Master Clock, I bought that from Facebook Marketplace for £130, which is a great steal for one of these, especially considering I've looked on eBay, and the cheapest one I found was like 300 quid. And it was in non-working condition, so yeah. Pretty good steal in my opinion. Anyway, next up, we have a actual Gustav Becker box clock, and don't question why there's an Alfa Romeo badge in there. I was doing moving around and I couldn't find a place for it, so I just stuck it there. Yeah, this clock strikes on a singular chime rod. It does have its original label on the back, which is very nice. Yeah, not much to say about this clock really. Yeah, I bought it on Facebook Marketplace for £20. Yeah, £20. And yeah, the only odd thing I can really find about this clock is the fact that this particular clock was made in August 1932. But as you can see, it's got these wooden glass dividers, which is a bit odd considering by the 30s most clock companies were using those metal dividers, which you see on that clock. But Gustav Becker was sticking with the old wooden dividers, so yeah. Also, this clock is interesting for having a different style pendulum bob to the other two, although again, the other two box clocks I have are both mounters, so yeah. Anyway, I guess now we can finally get to the end of this almost an hour long extravaganza. With this, the Ian Welsh regulator, which also comes with its original label on the back. This is my most expensive piece. Cost me £175. Has the full bells and whistles, really. Seconds dial. It strikes on a bell on the half hour and a gong on the hour. So it does a passing strike on the half hour on a bell, and then on the hour it strikes a number of hours on a nicely tuned gong. Yeah, not really much else to say about it. It's got a very nice tick to it. I'm pretty sure this is its original key as well. At least it looks like its original key. And it works very well for this clock. And this clock is odd, especially because even though it's an American clock, and usually American clocks wind, so you wind this arbor up that way and this one up that way. But on this clock, you wind it up this arbor this way and this one this way. So yeah, it's like they inverted it for some reason, but makes it all the more odd. And also, the really cool thing about this clock is I'm pretty sure this is the only clock of this model. This, by the way, the model's called Verdi, I think. That's how you say it. Verdi. You can go look it up on Google. There are a couple of pictures of other ones. But I'm pretty sure I'm the only person on YouTube to feature this in like a collection, I guess, which kind of makes me feel like one of a kind. I guess, I don't know. But yeah, these clocks are extremely rare. The ones of this type are extremely rare. This is the only one I've ever seen on YouTube, and I've done plenty of digging, and I can't find another video of this clock on YouTube. So yeah, it's quite interesting. But apart from that, not really much else I can tell you about this clock, which means we have now gone round the room, and as a result we now get to end the hour-long extravaganza. And unfortunately, if I get even more clocks next year, or this year, this year, depends on when this video releases, this video will probably definitely be over an hour long. So yeah, my apologies for not speeding things up a bit and only making this a half-hour long video, but instead making this an hour-long video. So now I will let you guys get back to your New Year's celebrations, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in 2025. So yeah, hopefully you guys have a happy new year.